Hello, everyone, and welcome to CHAPS Candlelight Vigil. My name is Lynn McCumber, and I'm the Executive Director here at CHAPS. We're honored that you've taken the time to join us this evening. The theme of this evening's program is Small Steps, Giant Leaps. We came upon the theme, I'm looking around the room, and I hope you guys get this, but we came upon the theme when recalling the first moon landing, when Neil Armstrong, on July 20th, 1969, said to the world as he descended the ladder of his spacecraft, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Thinking about this in our own lives and for our friends, families, those we care about, and those we support, life's a series of steps, both large and small, but equally significant. There are big steps in our lives, maybe getting a job, pursuing school, working on our mental health, working on our sobriety, getting a place to live, and many other examples. But there's also a lot of small steps that we choose to take every day that should equally be celebrated. The small steps might include a friendly smile, offering a kind word, listening without judgment, making a meal for ourselves, keeping a doctor's appointment, or maybe today, just getting out of bed. Big or small, they all matter on our own recovery journey. This evening, you'll hear our wonderful panel of speakers who will share their stories, their journey, and their steps. I want to thank everyone that helped get this day together. It's a good bit of work, and it is truly a team that makes this happen. I would be remiss if I named everyone, but you know who you are, everyone from helping prepare, set up the room, everything. And I also want to thank Kate Britton, who you'll be meeting shortly, who worked very hard the last couple months to coordinate the program. Thank you, Kate. It's now my honor to introduce our County Commissioner, Eric, who is going to come up and present a proclamation, a mental health proclamation for this event.
Thank you. Before I read the proclamation, which I should have down pat, this is my 5th year of being here, so I should have it down pat by now. There's a lot of things as a senior commissioner, which seems weird for me to say. I guess I am the senior commissioner. I usually delegate things out if I don't want to go, or I make the other guys go, have them come. I never give this up. I won't give it up. I told them they can come attend and listen to me, probably why they didn't show up. But I love this event. It's a great event, and I'm glad she's in the back of the room because I've been talking about her for a second. My friend Javon, back in the corner, I met 1 year ago today. She sent me a message and said, "It's been a year since I met you." And I told her, "Can you help me spend $1 million?" And she said, "Well, what?" And I explained it to her. And after listening to Javon's story last year and then sitting down with her in multiple meetings where she sat in the commissioner's office, she may not know this, but and you guys may not know this, but this week, she said it was a year ago I met her, but this week, the Crawford County Jail is starting our medical assisted treatment program for the first time in the history of Crawford County. You should clap for Javon, not for me, because it's hard for me to explain what people go through with withdrawal. And Jovan said it's the worst thing in the world, Eric. You don't ever want to do it. So we immediately got started and worked. And I will also tell you, Jovan, today, so you know, not only do we start the MAT program this week, next week we'll be approving a new counselor, a new caseworker, and a full-time CRNP at drug and alcohol to follow through those people who leave prison. So that's another $300,000 that, I'm going to be honest with you, you spent it. And you told us how. So I just want you to know, like, when I come here, that connection was really important for our opioid settlement dollars. And so I want to thank Javon for sharing her story, and thank you guys for allowing me to do this. So I'm going to read this to you then, and we'll move on to the better speakers than myself. So proclamation for Mental Health Week, October of 2024. Whereas Mental Health Week is critical for our well-being and vitality, as well as that of our families, communities, and businesses. And whereas the President's New Freedom Commission declared that mental health disorders and mental health problems affect people of all backgrounds and all stages of life, and no one is immune. And whereas as the World Health Organization found that mental illnesses rank first in terms of causing disability in the United States, and collectively are the most prevalent health problems in America today, more common than cancer, lung, and heart disease combined. And whereas 1 in 10 children has a serious mental health disorder that, if untreated, can lead to school failure, physical illness, substance abuse, and even suicide. And whereas mental health disorders such as schizophrenia, depression, and anxiety disorders are real, common, and treatable illnesses. And whereas with early and effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead a full, productive life. And whereas Crawford County has made a commitment to community-based systems of mental health care for all residents, and therefore the Crawford County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim October 24th through October 30th, 2024, Mental Health Awareness Week. In Crawford County, as the county commissioners, we also encourage all Crawford County residents to educate themselves and others about mental health conditions, treatment options, and available resources. Challenge stigma by speaking respectfully and inclusively about mental health. Seek help if they are struggling with their mental health and encourage others to do the same. Support organizations that provide mental health services and advocacy, and create a safe and supportive environment for open conversations about mental health. Signed, Eric Henry, Crawford County Commissioner, and on behalf of my two colleagues, Commissioner Christopher Seeley and Commissioner Scott Schell. Thank you for all you do at CHAPS, and thank you for the invite again. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Lynn and Commissioner Henry, for opening the night for us, and thank all of you for being here, both in person and wherever you may be joining us from. I'm Kate, an assistant here at CHAPS, and I've attended the vigil in years past, but this year I was really excited to be able to actually get to participate in hosting the vigil. So thank you for this opportunity. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Ashley Barrickman from Crawford County Human Services.
Thank you. So I thought I was going to get away with not having to use this because I'm a loudmouth, but I caught on to the fact that I need to. All right, so good evening. I would like to start by thanking Lynn and Amanda and the rest of the amazing CHAPS staff that I have had the pleasure to get to know over the past 7 years. Yep, you guys have been putting up with my shenanigans for the past 7 years. Sorry, I'm just gonna apologize now. But anyways, as I said, my name is Ashley Barrickman, and I'm a blended case manager for Crawford County Human Services. As a blended case manager, or as most of us call BCMs, we choose to take on the responsibility of helping and supporting those within our county that struggle with mental health and all of its challenges. Because as we know, it's not simply a diagnosis that is treated through some medication and hopefully some counseling. It is recognizing that we have those needs, and until those basic needs are met, we cannot work fully on to our mental health. Our goal is always to leave a person better than when we met them, whether that be a connection to new supports, such as CHAPS, Center for Family Services, the FCCA, or just as simple as validation of someone's personal experience with their journey through mental health recovery. We strive to meet people where they are at and walk with them through their journey to mental health recovery. Oftentimes, when working with my consumers, I hear comments like, well, this isn't where I want to be, or I thought I would be better now. And it is in those moments where we take the opportunity to look back at the steps, however small, that they have taken to get where they are today. Because sometimes, well, most of the times when we are in the grit of it, working hard every day just to make sure we have food to eat, some place to sleep, and safe people around us, It is easy to forget where we came from and even harder to see where we're going. So what are some small steps that you have taken? Did you wake up before noon today? You deserve an applause. Did you take a shower for the first time in a week? You deserve an applause. Did you turn down that offer to get high? Let me commend you for that. Even one time. You deserve to celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. Studies show that one of the ways to fuel the big changes we want in our lives is to notice and celebrate the small victories. Our lives are not measured by the leaps and bounds as much as they are measured by the little steps and decisions that we make each day. We don't always get to control the outcome, but we can make small changes to control our actions. Whew, deep breath. Of course, in this world of filtered influencers, fast food, instant downloads, and get-rich-quick schemes, those standing at the finish line often receive the praise, while those still on their journey are often overlooked, and I'm sure some of you can really relate with that. As a result, those still on the journey believe that they are failing because they don't stand up to the finish line yet. Our society doesn't do a good job of lifting up those that are on their way. We must learn, not only providers, but supports, friends, family, not just as a society, but firstly and mostly, we need to learn that as individuals, we each have our own story, and it all looks different to each and every one of us. It is entirely appropriate to praise those who have successfully completed positive life changes, but we also must celebrate those who are still on their journey. Every step forward is worthy of celebration. And when we see it in our own lives, or even in the lives of others, we must call it what it is. It is a victory worthy of celebration. So I want to share with you guys, I know Lynn, I asked her yesterday, I said, how long do I have to talk for? And she said, just 10 minutes. Okay, well, I hate to tell you guys, you're not getting 10 minutes out of me. But in closing, I do want to share a poem with you guys. It is something that I have hung up in my office. It's actually, I took it off my wall just to bring it here today. It is something that I like to remind myself of every day. You will teach them to fly, but they will not fly your flight. You will teach them to dream, but they will not dream your dream. You will teach them to live, but they will not live your life. Nevertheless, in every flight, in every life, in every dream, the print of the way you taught will always remain. By Mother Teresa. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ashley. I really enjoy how she called attention to the fact that all steps, small and big, deserve celebration. And I think that's what tonight is. And now I'd like to ask a longtime friend of CHAPS, Alicia Twilla.
Thank you. Good evening. When I heard the theme for this year's vigil was related to taking small and big steps, I started to think about what those would be. And I concluded that there's no clear answer to that. Sorry, Lynn. The reason I concluded that is because really what is a small or a big step is a matter of perception. What may seem like a small step for one person may be a huge step for somebody else. As a therapist specializing in treating trauma for the past 17 years, I have had the honor and the privilege of walking beside countless courageous people as they have worked on healing from the trauma that they have experienced. The process of participating in therapy itself is comprised of so many steps that can both be big and small. It starts with the step of making that first phone call and asking for help. For someone who has already been in therapy in the past, that may not feel very significant. It may feel just like crossing something off of your to-do list. For others, it may be a phone call that takes them years to make. That phone call takes courage and strength, and that does not go unnoticed. So the phone call is made, and then what? The step of attending that first appointment is another step that can be either big or small. Even the step of making the phone call can lead to people start thinking about the things that they want to work on, and that can bring up anxiety and can make it feel scary to attend that first appointment. There are also a lot of unknowns about who is going to be on the other side of that waiting room door or computer screen and what to expect. For some, that makes that next step feel very intimidating. For those who make it to that first appointment, the next step involves continuing to attend, to put in the work, to allow oneself to be vulnerable, and to take the time to work on things that are helpful to be able to work on for recovery or healing to take place. To trust another person with your story, your thoughts and feelings, even your true dreams and aspirations, that's huge. For someone who has never had anyone in their life that they could trust, that's an even bigger step. For people who were made to feel like they had to keep their story a secret, that's huge. For someone who was taught that it was weak to show emotions, again, a really big step. As a therapist, I can say that I don't expect people to come into therapy trusting me because I'm the professional. I recognize that I need to earn that trust, and I'm committed to meeting people where they're at. I recognize all the small and big steps that it takes to truly work on oneself, and I'm humbled by those who have allowed me to walk beside them on their journey. In my current role at work, I am working with caregivers of veterans, and outside of work, I'm also passionate about supporting foster, adoptive, and kinship parents. For those two populations, but also for many other people, that small step may be taking time for self-care. And it can also be a very big step. When your schedule is overly full and you're caring for someone who needs you, or you're a parent, you can feel like taking time for yourself seems impossible. I know it's cliche, but it's true that you cannot give from an empty cup. So a small step might be taking time to reflect on what it would be that you could do to fill your cup, and other smaller big steps might be taking the time to do those things, and some of those things may feel like really big steps as well. Maybe it's calling a friend, writing in a journal, setting a boundary, taking a break from social media, attending a support group, coming to CHAPS, practicing some coping skills. Self-care really looks different for everybody, but it's a necessity for all. When we think about seeking mental health treatment, there still seems to be a lot of stigma attached to that. A small step of breaking through that stigma may be recognizing it for what it is. Recognizing that there's nothing wrong with seeking help, and that just like everybody has physical health, every person also has mental health. Both are on a continuum, and where we fall in that continuum of how well we are doing or feeling depends very much on what's going on in our lives and in our mind and our body at that time. And that will vary over time, but it's true for everyone and simply a part of being human. The therapy I utilize the most in my work is EMDR, which is based on the belief that or it's based on a model that suggests that much of what people struggle with relates back to things that they have been through and experiences that they have had that have not been processed. We all have within us this built-in ability to process information and experiences as they occur, but when that gets overwhelmed because the experience might have been too overwhelming, that can basically become stuck in the brain. And when that happens, it can still cause distress and cause you to think about it from the same point of view that you might have had at the time when it happened. So those memories can start to influence our views of ourselves, others, and the world. They can impact our mood, including symptoms of depression, anxiety, and PTSD. They can impact relationships, and they can even lead to problems with addiction. If we consider addiction, for example, often it begins as an attempt to cope with things such as stress, physical pain, or trauma. It is often used as an attempt not to feel, which brings me to the next barrier that I think impacts people seeking help, and that would be avoidance. Avoiding emotions, situations, or even places can sometimes feel like a solution. It has the ability to bring immediate feelings of relief. The thing that people don't always realize is that avoidance can actually make things worse. You may have had the experience of trying to push something out of your mind only to find yourself thinking about it more. Or let's think about some other examples. For the person who avoids going places where there are crowds, they will likely find that fear increases the longer that they avoid going places. The belief that it's unsafe to go somewhere crowded will get reinforced, and they won't have new experiences that help them to maybe start to realize that not all crowds are unsafe. For people who avoid social interactions, the harder it gets to approach people. But if you start to have conversations and social interactions and they go well, then it will become easier over time. For people who avoid talking about those feelings, their feelings often become stronger, and they miss out on experiences like hearing someone else's perspective or realizing that they are not alone in what they're experiencing. If with support you take small steps towards the things that you are avoiding, you may find some relief. And you may notice that you even start to become aware of the strengths that you already have within you. A step towards decreasing avoidance of emotions that feel uncomfortable might also come in recognizing that no emotions are bad. Emotions are just messengers. Even emotions that feel difficult to allow yourself to feel can be helpful. Anxiety, for example, might help you prepare for a job interview or study for a test. Anger might be there to tell you that it's not okay how you or someone that you care about is being treated. Fear might arise to tell you that a situation is unsafe. Sadness might show up to let you know that someone or something that you really care about means something to you and that you miss that thing or person. It is what we do with the emotions that arise that matters. Often even the step of acknowledging them and validating them starts to bring some relief. That could be a small or a big step. If you want to take another step, sharing them with someone else can be helpful. Another step might be asking yourself what you need in that moment. Another step might be practicing self-compassion. And that can be a hard one for many people, as I think a lot of people have an easier time being kind to others than they do to themselves. And so if that sounds like you, then maybe ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? And then saying that thing to yourself. In a moment, cards are going to be passed around that on the front say "You matter." And on the inside, if you pop them open, they have a quote on the inside that's different on each one. A small tangible step that you can take today is taking one of those cards and putting it somewhere as a reminder that you matter. I feel like most people can use a reminder of that from time to time. Or maybe you know someone who needs a reminder of that more than you do right now. You could either take two or you could pass it along. And then, I encourage you, maybe put it somewhere where that person will unexpectedly find it when they need to see that. Small steps that we take for ourselves matter, and we also never know how the small steps that we help somebody else with matter for them either in their lives. If you take nothing else from this speech, then please take that as a reminder that you matter, your story matters, and your mental health matters. Thank you.
Alicia, thank you for your wise words and for offering all of us more steps that we can take. And thank you for being such an asset to our community. And now I would like to introduce one of CHAPS' assets, Trina Andrews.
Good evening. My name is Trina Andrews. I work at CHAPS. I do mobile psych rehabilitation specialist and certified peer support specialist. What that means is that I help support and guide individuals through their mental health recovery journey. We identify what their strengths are so we can use these assets to achieve their goals that we have identified together. I strive every day to instill hope in my consumers and give them encouragement and support to become the best versions of themselves. Tonight, I have been given the privilege of sharing Jack's story. Jack is not here tonight. She has to work. So she has to work and she's not here, but I am going to share the story for her. From early on, my life was very chaotic with my parents consistently breaking up and getting back together. I had 2 brothers and 1 sister. I was unable to grow up with my sister as she was put up for adoption. Anthony was my oldest brother, and I had a younger brother that passed away from a swimming accident in 2012. His passing left a gap in my life, and this led to a lot of guilt and blaming that my parents validated. I took care of my brother until he passed away, and I felt empty without him. Because of my parents' substance abuse and constant fighting, this led us to move around a lot, and I was put in unsafe situations with people that took advantage of me at an early age. My father was physically and emotionally abusive towards me, and this led to 2 different suicidal attempts. My father would allow his male friends to take advantage of me, and my father was my biggest fear. He degraded and belittled me. When my parents were using substances, it left a financial strain on the family when at times we had no food and relied on school lunches and the kindness of others. For months, I felt like I was falling apart until my mom's friend gifted me a kitten that became my emotional support. This made me feel like I had a purpose. I then became close to my oldest brother. With him, I knew I would never be alone, and I knew someone cared. Over time, my Grandma Bonnie's siblings started to pass away, and Grandma Bonnie passed away as well, causing the family to fall apart. I became easily attached to those who gave me attention and often clung to people and then pushed them away before they could leave due to my grief and losing family members. When I lost my youngest brother in 2012, I began to self-harm. This escalated to drinking and substance use. When using substances, I would steal from my family and lie to them. I felt like a freak and an embarrassment to my family. So I got better at hiding my problems, and I felt like I was never good enough, and I felt like a burden. I had a tough time forming appropriate relationships and searched for affection in all the wrong ways. Due to my trauma, I struggle with connections with people, social cues, and understanding jokes. All the things I had seen at home made me feel like my only purpose was to serve others. When other kids learned about my trauma and past, they began to bully me relentlessly. I had never been so depressed or ashamed. I then started dating someone that was known for being aggressive, but he stood up for me to everyone. But then he began to control everything I did. He insisted that I skip school. He controlled what I did, who I saw, and what I ate. He then became physically and sexually abusive towards me. I did not feel safe, and I did not know how to get out. He was using substances, and then I started to use substances as well to cope with the abuse. Later, with the help of a friend, I was able to get my own apartment and a new job. My friend helped me see that I can be my own person and showed me how to have healthy relationships. Even though my ex continued to harass me, my friend was not scared of him, and she helped me through getting past thinking that I needed him. I decided that I would not let anyone control me again. My mother and I reconnected around this time after having time to think and realize that we were both victims as children and in our relationships. Even though things were getting better, I was still depressed, drinking, and self-harming. My partner encouraged me to quit drinking, and I started treatment for my mental health and learning coping skills. My partner helped build my confidence, and I knew by harming myself I was hurting the people that cared about me. I stopped self-harming and began to feel safe, like the world was giving me a break from suffering. I started getting depressed again, but began seeking help because I knew I did not want to give up, and I could not do it alone anymore. I found the right therapist and got help with the right medications. I then got into trauma therapy and this helped with my past childhood issues. I got a BCM who helped me find a peer support specialist to assist me in getting back into the community and socializing. I felt like a freak for years, but now I know why, and I was able to get better. I'm different, not weird and damaged, but not broken. It has been 4 years since I decided to take control of my own life. I have made a lot of progress. I am building long-lasting relationships and working on leaving my house more often. My mindset on myself and the world has shifted to a more positive tone. I changed my diet, started running and exercising. I'm doing important things in everyday life that I never thought I would be capable of or even deserved. I am on a path to discovering myself and who I want to be. I'm now 24 years old and proud to be me. I hope my journey and this story can help others that may not think they are good enough. We all heal at our own pace, and as they say, Rome was not built in a day, and neither was I. Next, we have Shashaya White, and she is going to share her story. She has come very far, and I'm very proud of her. So, Shashaya.
Hello, my name is Shashaya White. I am 33 years old, and I am a domestic violence survivor in recovery from substance abuse and actively pursuing trauma therapy for unhealed wounds. I stand in front of you today as an optimistic, energetic, ambitious, and hopeful woman. But almost 2 years ago, I would have told you I was sick and tired of being alive. I was willing to settle for less because I believed at the time that I didn't deserve anything or anyone good. Because after all, I had failed again. What led me to that dark place was ongoing cycle of domestic violence, untreated mental health issues, and substance abuse. In addition, I had lost my vehicle, my driver's license, and I had no natural supports to help me. I was on the verge of going to jail due to back child support, unpaid fines for traffic tickets, and back rent. So I was on the verge of being homeless yet again. I was angry all the time, constantly stressed out, and was placing blame on everyone and anyone who had ever hurt me like they owed to bail me out of my misery. Growing up, I was raised by my parents. My mother was only 16 years old when she had me, and my biological father was a criminal and a menace to society. I wound up being adopted by an 18-year-old young man that I have known as my dad to this day. Both of my parents struggled with having no education, alcoholism, anger issues, domestic violence, and unstable relationships. We were also facing all of the challenges of having little income in our household. Because of my parents' unresolved issues, my 3 younger siblings and I suffered from physical, sexual, verbal, and emotional abuse. As time went on, things only got worse for us. My siblings had moved out to live with our dad, and at 15 years old, I had ran away from home to be with a boyfriend that I was with at the time. No one reported me missing. No one came and looked for me. Oh, I lost my place, I'm sorry. No one reported me missing, no one came looking for me, and from that point forward, I lived my life like I was an adult. I made my own decisions, and they weren't the greatest, and I attempted to pay my own bills. I did what I wanted, when I wanted. Eventually, I dropped out of school my senior year, and by that time, I was 17 years old, and I had already been physically and sexually abused by my then boyfriend for over a year. I was drinking during the week, smoking weed every day, taking prescription painkillers, and involving myself in criminal activities. At 21 years old, I had my first child. I had been clean for over a year and had received my GED high school diploma. I had been stable for 2.5 years, but unfortunately, alcoholism and drug addiction had taken its toll on my relationship with my daughter's father, and I had to leave. At 23 years old, I was pregnant again with my second child. This time I was homeless in another abusive relationship with another addict. I had to find the strength to put a stop to this vicious cycle. When I was 24 years old, I was using again, still in an unhealthy relationship, and I had lost custody of both of my children. When I lost my children, I lost what little support that I did have, and this made me dependent on the healthy relationship I was in. And for 2 years straight, I endured terrible drug-induced psychoses that were always resulted in me getting nearly beaten to death. While in active addiction, I found out I was pregnant with my third child. By this time, I was now 26 years old, homeless, jobless, and my boyfriend was in jail. That is the first time that I had came to CHAPS for help. At the time, my son's grandmother was trying to terminate my parental rights. After facing a lot of difficult truths and taking a long, hard look in the mirror, thankfully, my rights were not terminated. But one thing from that termination hearing that stuck with me was when the judge told me that he would believe from someone other than me that I loved my children. I knew I needed to not just say I love my children, but to show I love them through my choices and actions. I was homeless for the majority of my third pregnancy. I was then able to get into the emergency shelter. The situation I was living with at the time before that, I was unsafe for my children and a threat to my sobriety. A month later, I was accepted into the Liberty House. I started to do well, and I had gotten a job working with youth for a small period of time. Fast forwarding, having my fourth and fifth child, I had moved into low-income housing, and I was in school. I felt safe, comfortable, and to an extent successful. Then the postpartum depression set in, and it was bad. I began using drugs again, but I wanted a way out, and I knew I had resources and services I could turn to. But in my irrational thought process, I was full of anxiety, shame, guilt, and paranoia about having to ask for help again. This led me straight back to the homelessness and risk of losing my children. Somehow, during this time, I mustered the strength to stop using drugs, and I was able to move into a home we live in now. I was working as a secretary so I could pay the bills. Wintertime was difficult, and I really don't do well with boredom. If you know me, I don't. I had started drinking and going out with friends again. I figured alcohol wasn't my drug of choice, so I wouldn't have a problem controlling it. 6 months later, I was using drugs again. I lost my license. The car was towed, and once again, on the verge of losing my home. I was full of anger and anxiety, and I did not care what happened. I was ready to give up. That July of 23, CYS showed up at my home. My reaction to the visit was not great, being in the state of mind I was in. My children ended up being put on a safety plan, but were able to remain in our home. I knew I needed to get clean, and in that moment, I remembered a caseworker from my prior experience with CYS saying that if people knew how to utilize us, it would benefit them more, and we couldn't be the bad guys. We were able to make a list of the things that I needed to do so they could help me be in a better position so I could be a better person and a better mother. As time went on, I went to Crawford County Drug and Alcohol for intensive outpatient therapy, connected with a recovery specialist, went to NA meetings, and started to work with Trina from CHAPS. All of the caseworkers, therapists, and counselors that I have worked with have left a major positive impression on me. It has increased my self-confidence, which I didn't think was possible. I now have goals. I have natural and community supports, and I have maintained my home for about 3 years now. I'm making time for my therapy. I enjoy crafting with my children, hiking, taking pictures of nature. I participate in activities and resources that help me cope and process things in a healthy way. I apply all these skills daily so I can live a productive and happy life with my children, friends, family, and those in the community. I don't believe any of this would be possible if I wouldn't have had the help from CHAPS, Crawford County Drug and Alcohol, the recovery specialist, the living room, my peers, CYS, and my children. I can never fully express the gratitude I have for all of these people. They came in my life at some of my lowest points. They did everything they could to not help me get on my feet and be mentally healthy, but to be confident in my life choices. It feels good to know I am never alone. Thank you.
Beautiful words by Shashea. Thank you. I can really feel the passion and excitement that you have for your life now. And Trina, thank you for reading on behalf of Jack. I know it's not easy to stand up here, and I'm honored that Jack would share their story with us. At this time, it is my great privilege to introduce Justin Kenny.
Hello, everyone. I'm trying to get myself situated here. Didn't bring any paper or cards. I used my phone. So we're gonna find the right thing. Okay. Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking everyone for being here tonight. Thanks for those individuals like Katie and the rest of us. I won't leave out names. You know who you are. I'd like to thank everybody for setting up this event, and everything looks and feels great tonight. It really does. So my name's Justin. I'm currently employed here at CHAPS as a drop-in center manager, maintenance person, and also a Pathfinders youth program staff. I have volunteered in the past year with various community events. If memory serves right, I believe I was in this very room, staying at St. James Haven, and I got bored one day, I think, and I seen, the place was messy or something, so I said, well, I'll vacuum. I got nothing to do. I got 6 hours before I gotta go back, so that's what I did, I kept, helping out, wiping tables, serving coffee, whatever, just helping the managers out. And, it eventually led into me being hired here, which I'm very grateful for. And I have volunteered in the past with various community events. So I think it was only a week or two after kind of helped out and I was offered a job here. And it's been 3 years. So I've been here for 3 years now. By far the longest employment I've ever had, to be completely honest. I've had a lot of jobs, a lot of work, but not in that, tenure. I am currently a recovering addict, and my path has been pretty bumpy. With supports and internal willingness to get my life back on track has helped me immensely. I struggled for about 6 solid years in my 20s, but have been clean now for 9 years. And I'm not looking back. So the things that have inspired me the most on my continuing recovery journey would have to be not directly being the source, but I'd have to say I spent enough time around individuals under certain circumstances, in certain situations, that I won't mention in this setting. But the things that I realized is that I have a choice. It took me a long time to really absorb that, to kind of just let it in. You have a choice. Everybody has a choice. I think memory serves that everything was just really clouded. The addiction took over, and it clouds your mind and your judgments and your actions, and makes the people you love, not want to be around you and that kind of thing. It's painful. It really is. And so that basically helped me realize that I do have a choice. And it took me a long time to, like I said, to really bring that in. So I would like to, first off today, I find the most beneficial people for me are my closest supporters, like Keegan. I'm sure a few of you might know her and how wonderful she is. She's a big support in my life. Also my Uncle Tony and the love of his life, Sandra, for bringing me out here and kind of like taking me in, giving me some support.
You're my son.
Yeah, it meant a lot, and I am forever grateful, forever. Giving, I lost my train of thought here. Sorry, okay. I'm also grateful for the opportunities that CHAPS, the organization of CHAPS, and everybody involved has given me over the past 3 years, as well as the support with, housing, my mental health, all those things I'm incredibly grateful for and won't ever forget it. So I'm going to close tonight. I didn't want to really stand up here and talk about myself a whole lot, because there's a lot of things that I don't want to let out in a setting like this. But so I'm going to close tonight by thanking everyone for being here. And I hope my words might possibly make an impact in somebody's life that might be going through the same kind of things that, a lot of us do. And once again, thank everybody for being here, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Justin, thank you. I truly appreciate all your hard work. And next, we have Shayna Lance, who will also bring with her 2 other speakers.
Hello, I'm here to represent the Pathfinder program we have. It's a program for the youth between ages 14 and 18. It meets every Tuesday and Thursday here at CHAPS up on the 2nd floor. The goal is to empower participants to improve social skills, communication skills, and employment soft skills in a trauma-informed, culturally sensitive environment. The program provides individualized wellness supports to transitioned aged youth based on their personal needs, strengths, talents, and abilities within a community of natural supports and encouragement. The structure is focused on seeking out youth participation in all areas of the program, such as activity development, group structure, and evaluation of outcome. This past spring, we had a consumer satisfaction survey, and the results showed that a majority of participants felt as though they received the supports, the assistance, and information that they needed to help them reach their personal goals. Some of the comments from that were, they've helped me control my anger, and it's helped with my social goals. This past summer, we've had 4 youth who graduated high school as well as the program. One of them being Logan, who's in the crowd there, who's going to come up here and say a few things. He started in the program in November 21st, November 2021. He came to the program seeking help to support him with coping his anger and anxiety. And during his time here, he brought humor and emotional support to his peers, along with providing a lot of support in the kitchen to serve dinner. Cool.
So, as you all know, I did start Pathfinders in 2021. And during those 3 years, I have become the clown I am today. Yeah. And I also, my strengths have been included with empathy, helping welcome new peers to the group and making people laugh. I enjoy learning independent living skills, such as preparing and serving food. One of my favorite activities was cooking with my peers, because in the past, I always wanted to be a chef. So, there's that. I introduced Cincinnati chili to the chili competition. Yeah, recommend you guys get that. It's good. It's good. And apparently it won cook-off contest, which it won most unique chili. Yeah. I graduated from MASH and Pathfinders this year, past summer, whatever you want to call it. I am continuing to work on my job exploration goals in the Journey Center. I know my friends and family are proud of my accomplishments. Jesus. I am proud of myself, too. Through my experiences, I learned that it is okay to show emotions. Meeting new people is always a great adventure. That is a sign of strength to ask others to help achieve your goals. And most importantly, remember to have fun along your journey, because every day is an adventure. That is all.
Thank you, Logan. We also have another participant from Pathfinders here tonight. They are going to be graduating this summer, and they wanted to say a few words about the community aspect of the program. Jasper?
community. Society would be so much better if we led as a community. One man's trash is another man's treasure. We would be better off if we shared meals, gave our clothes to those who need it, and if we were less driven by monetary value and more by community. We are not happy with what we have. We are constantly chasing the next big thing. So it is always nice when we can come together for events like this, where we can come together as a community.
Thank you to Shayna, Logan, and Jasper. Well said, all of you. At this time, I'm going to play a short presentation for you with a song, and we'll pass out candles for our ceremony. In closing, I would just like to say thank you so much to all of our speakers. Your stories are inspiring and are amazing. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us tonight to join in this experience, and for everyone joining us at home and elsewhere. I just wanted to point out one thing. This banner that's been waving behind us in the air conditioning, which I'm very grateful for, is the NAMI banner. So the National Alliance on Mental Illness, what we call NAMI, made the iris their national flower. And it symbolizes hope, courage, and recovery for individuals and families who are affected by mental illness. The reason they adopted the iris as their emblem was from a painting by the world-famous Vincent van Gogh. He painted irises in 1889 during one of his own hospitalizations for mental illness. Purple is associated with irises, of course, and as it also represents introspection and calmness. I hope that our evening tonight has given you purple energy to take with you into the rest of your day. Safe travels, and please join us for cider and cookies.